Good evening, everyone.
Whoa.
Let's wait a couple minutes.
Hi, Mike.
Hello? Got me?
Got you.
Okay.
You have 6, Tim.
Excellent. Is Francis on yet, Kelly?
Not that I see.
Okay, I was just on the phone with him about a second ago, so he's coming. I have to say hi to Nana. Nana, long time no see.
I do know that. How
It's
are
been a
you?
while. How are you?
Good, good, good. We're hanging in.
Good. Everyone staying healthy?
So far, so good.
Very good. Well, thanks for joining us.
Francis is here.
Okay, great. I think we're ready whenever you are, Mr. Lambert.
Okay, well, let's get this meeting started. On item 1, I'm going to call this meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving right into item 2, budget workshop.
All right, so I would like to welcome everyone to our third budget workshop of this budget season. I know this has been a very difficult budget season. Just to give you a very quick update, and Francis is going to bring us through the entire thing, but we had some positive news. We ended up getting about $95,000 more in state aid through the foundational aid as well since last time we met. So Francis is going to talk about the specifics of that, what that means. We still have a deficit, of course, but it's better than we were back a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll go through the presentation together. Okay, Fran, go ahead and I will move it as you're ready.
I'm not seeing it, Andrew.
Oh, I forgot to share my screen. That could be it. I put it up on my own screen. 1 second. That would help.
There it comes.
All right. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, Fran.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. So, am I going to be able to click through this thing, Andrew?
I'm going to click it for you. So you tell me when
Okay.
you want to go.
All right. So, let's start off again with kind of just reviewing where we're at, the tax levy limit calculation. So again, because of that error that we had in the tax billing, our prior year tax levy that was levied was actually $8,110,335. We put in the tax base growth factor, gives us $8,152,508. There's no pilots in the district. Those are payments in lieu of taxes. So we use the prior year capital exclusions. Those are capital expenditures made in the previous year. That was $492,901. So that you subtract that from the initial levy, and it gives us a adjusted prior year levy of $7,659,607.77. The allowable growth factor, this is where kind of the 2% tax cap kind of piece comes in. It's 2% or CPI, whichever is less. And in this case, CPI obviously is much less. So we multiply the 1.23% in there. That gives us the $7,753,820.80. And in 2021, the capital exclusion was less than the prior year exclusion. So we only had $387,190 in that. That gives us the maximum allowable levy for this year of $8,141,010.80. Give me the next slide, please. So that's where our revenue picture looks like. So we wind up with a tax levy of $8,141,010. Our non-tax revenue should be coming in at around $287,000 next year. State aid So this is where we got a bump in foundation aid of $95,846. So that bumped us up to $3,238,633. So that gives us a total revenue picture with the levy limit of $11,666,643. Next slide, please. So we look at our expense budget. The 2021 school year, the expense budget was $12,764,051. We've trimmed that down to $12,401,614. So that's giving us a change of $362,437 less, or a decrease in the budget of 2.83%. Next slide, please. So our budget gap is getting smaller. So our proposed budget would be $12,401,614. Again, just to reiterate, we cut the BOCES instructional coaches. That was a service that we get from BOCES for primarily, I believe, the elementary school. We also pulled the bus purchase off. So just, to throw it out there, those are two aidable expenses. So we'll see a bit of a dip in aid revenue the following year because we didn't make those expenses. Our revenue picture is $11,666,643. So now our difference is down to $734,971. Next slide, please.
Okay.
There it goes. So here's that chart again that we showed, and it kind of gives the different scenarios. So at the tax cap, that we just went over, we're only getting a $30,675 increase in revenue. If we went out to 4.75%, that kind of gets us back to what was approved last year in the budget, what the voters approved and what the board approved as a levy, and that was $8.492 million. This gets you up to $8.495. And as you can see all the way over onto the right in that black rows, we have the black column where we have the impact on the budget. So as you see, as the levy increases, we start to get a reduction. So per our conversations at the last workshop, we were using the 6% as the levy increase. That gives us a revenue of $486,620. Sets our new levy at $8,596,955, and that impact has a deficit still of $279,026. Next slide, please. So we finally got our hard number. So this also increased for what we're getting for federal money. So that number is up to $621,539. I believe it was 570,000 was the number that we were getting from Senator Schumer. So that went up significantly as well. We do know that there's going to be a percentage of that money that has to be allocated to what they're calling learning loss. We're unsure when the money again is going to be released to the districts and what it can be allocated for. And again, much like using fund balance to build a budget, whatever money is used creates the hole on the revenue side. We are being told that we have until 2023, I believe, to expend the money when we do get the money. So it doesn't all have to be used in a budget year, or this current budget year anyway. And but again, just like the CARES money, which was only $100,000, we still haven't received checks for that yet. So we're still waiting on that money. So while we would certainly love to have the 621,000 hit our bank accounts July 1. There's just no stating when that money is going to come. There was also in the aid runs, if you were looking at them closely, there was $108,000 that's allocated for pre-K. Now this money is more like a grant. It's put into the aid run as state aid, but it's a little different, and it kind of goes through the special aid fund, and you have to apply for this money similar to like how you would be applying for the CARES Act money, or there will certainly be applications for this this federal stimulus money of 621,000. So that isn't something that we would factor into the current aid run. Andrew can kind of speak a little bit more to what has to happen to our current pre-K program for us to even be able to receive this money.
So just to mention a little bit about the American Rescue Plan, I did go to a workshop yesterday on that, and what they're saying is that a minimum of 20% must be spent on learning loss remediation. So what that would be summer school programs, after school tutoring type programs. So 20% of that 621,539. The other information that we received yesterday is that the balance of that can be used on items as the CARES Act grant. So for the CARES Act, it was very specific on what we could utilize that for. So again, it had to be COVID related. So this is very specific, this money. You know, you can't, a lot of the things that we are talking about having to reduce would not qualify under this federal money. So the CARES Act, like for example, when we used it last time, we bought Chromebooks with those. So we're good there. But it has to be specifically used for COVID related, all of that money. So most of the things that we have on our list to look at would not qualify under this fund. And they're going to be very specific on that. So it will be very similar to what we've had for the CARES Act. When it comes to pre-K, you know, I got really excited when I saw the $108,000 on there. I started to ask a lot of questions to state ed, and I was able to get some information. If we were able to use that money towards our current program, that would be a savings for the district. But we are not able to do that. We would only be allowed to use it if we put our pre-K program to a full day program, which I think would be a great thing to do for our students. But we have to look we have to look into this a lot more. So what I'm going to propose is that Francis and I continue to research this, continue to look at all the funding to see if it would cost anything extra for the district, if there would be a savings for the district by going full day, and we would present to the board at our May meeting on our findings and on our recommendation. The process is we would still have to fill out an application, the UPK application. So it's the same process as it always was. But the difference is this money was not available to school districts like ours. A lot of the UPK funds went to more urban settings instead of more rural or suburban settings. So now we're told that $108,000 is allocated for us, but there's a process still to get that approved. So Andrew, if the board, go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
Is this a recurring grant, or is this a one-time thing to bootstrap the program?
That's a great question, and I asked the same question. I could not get a guaranteed answer. So that is a great question. Hopefully we can maybe get that answer. This is the first year school districts like New Lebanon have been allocated this. So there's certainly no guarantee that this will always be there. That's a great question that I'll do my best to find the answer. So if the board's okay with it, at the May meeting, after we figure out, you know, we get through this budget and we approve our budget, I will do a presentation specifically on pre-K from everything that I find, and then we'll make the decision if we want to apply for a full day pre-K program for our district. But I can tell everyone that there will not be a savings with this money. You know, from the preliminary numbers that we did, we won't be saving anything with that $108,000. We would just be making our program better. All right, Fran, ready to go to the next slide?
Yep.
Any questions on federal money or UPK to the board? Okay, let's keep going.
So here we get to, you know, the potential reductions that we looked at So these are everything that kind of was put out there. There is a slight change with the mechanic. I believe that was $13,250. We're able to get some breakage also from the retirement of our mechanic. So between the hour reduction and the breakage, we're projecting another $5,000 in savings. So that's an $18,250 savings. Everything else has pretty much stayed the same. Next slide, please.
So I'll take this slide then, Fran.
Gotcha.
So as we talked about, there are several difficult decisions to be made with that list that we just talked about. One thing, as we looked into it more and as we continue to do more research on it, it is essential that we have the athletic director portion of the assistant principal / athletic director. The district would really be in a lot of hardship if we didn't make a plan for that. So what I'm sharing with the board now is a couple options. If the board decides to take the route of reducing the athletic director / assistant principal position, the recommendation are the following. So my recommendation would be to keep the 0.6 PE position, but we would restructure that position. 0.2 would be a PE teacher, so that would be approximately one PE class every single day. And then there would be a 0.4 athletic director addition to it. So 0.4 of that job would be athletic director duties. We would have to provide a stipend to cover the games after school hours because we would have an expectation that the athletic director would go to some of the games, not all of the games, but some of the games. And that would be written out as a contract, but we would have to provide a stipend to make sure that happens. The other option that would be to hold negotiations with Berlin to cover our athletic duties. So as I mentioned to the board, the superintendent of Berlin and I will be meeting over the summer to really start to work out a written agreement with our merger, because at this point we don't have a written agreement with Berlin and with our merger together. So within those negotiations, we could talk about putting those duties. Now, I don't necessarily recommend that because that really takes away the ownership from the district. And it would be Berlin covering all of that. And there's a lot of pieces there that we really need to build that relationship with our athletes, to be checking in on our athletes, and also our coaches as well. So that's not my recommendation. My recommendation is, if the board decides to go that route, is to bring that PE position back and to restructure it. So that, any questions, board, on that piece of it? All right, so the next piece, what I provided with the board earlier today and what I want to share with everyone is a budget worksheet. So this is where we have to get to start making the decisions. So let me click this. So could everyone see this Excel sheet?
Yep.
Okay. So what we have is we have each of the possible reductions that were given all the way to the left. The right column, you'll see we have a total. This is our total amount of reductions on this on the left column. On the right column, this is a workable slide. So what we have here is we have all the different cuts, and as you can see here, the cuts that I have from number 5 through 13, those come up to $279,026. So this is a worksheet that we can kind of play with, and the board each has a copy of this. I sent it by email. One thing you will notice, board, is that the number on the top is different from what I sent you earlier. As Fran and I were meeting and going through the number, this is the number that we're looking at. There was a mistake in the last number that I sent you. So the number we're working with is 279,026, like Fran explained to you. So that is the number that we are looking to reduce. So this was just an example that I put here that would get us to the number that we need to get to. So a reduction of the SRO officer for 40, teacher supplies for 10, 5-6 curriculum coordinator for 1,000, teacher assistant for 26, district account clerk for 20, conferences for 1,800, the mechanic for 18,250, the business teacher for 69,000, and the assistant principal athletic director for 93,000. That would keep us with the club, not having to reduce clubs, not having to reduce a psychologist position, not having us to reduce modified sports, not having us reduce the field trips, and not having to reduce the PE teacher. That would take us to where we need. Now that is just an option there. But now the board should have some time to really talk about this and to see if this is something that you're interested in. How do you want to change it? If somebody wants to tell me, I can delete something on the right column and switch it so you can see what the total number would be up at the top. But right now, according to this list, we're at 279.26, which would bring us to where we need to be. I'm sorry, actually, wait a minute, let me go down. We're at 279.50. This number, we don't need this number here. So as you can see, if you scroll down, this total is 462,750. This reduction is 279.50. We need to be at 279.26.
So Andrew, is this, you kind of said two things. Is this your recommended list, or is this purely an example?
Great question. From going through everything, this is an example, but I would say this is my recommendation. Looking at all this information, I think this is the least impact of our students, and it also gives us, like I said, the PE teacher would be the part athletic director in this position. So it would maintain that athletic director position by keeping that PE position. So it's not a full PE, but I do feel as if you're asking for my recommendation, I feel as if this would be the least impact on our students. It's certainly going to impact our students. And it's certainly, we're still having to unfortunately lose some amazing people and amazing people of our community. But I do think by having to make these difficult decisions, in my opinion, and then in Francis and I opinion, looking at the whole district, this would be the least impact on our students in my recommendation. But again, it's the board's decision.
Andrew, just so you know, your presentation dropped. I don't see it.
Oh, really? What did it just drop?
I saw it up until the end, but it's not there now.
No, sorry, I didn't realize that. Okay, let me get it back on. So you couldn't see what I was saying?
Oh no, I did up until just about the end.
Okay, good. Okay, shout out if I lose you. All right, now can you see me again? All right, let's go back to here.
Yes.
Let me get back to that worksheet. Let's see, where'd it go? I don't know how that happened.
Don't touch him. Don't play. Don't play.
It's not coming up now. Ugh.
Cecily.
Technical difficulties, bear with me. All right, let me try one other thing. All right, can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
There it is. It's back now. Okay. All right, so now this is up for board discussion. Let me know if you want me to change any numbers so you can see what the totals are. But right now in the right column, we're at 279.50, but please let me know if you want me to switch anything out.
I'm still processing this.
I know.
Well, I mean, I just want to say, I might as well just jump in. Looking at your list, it's a no-brainer. Like the SRO, we talked about that. The teacher supplies, the district account clerk, conference, like a lot of the things that you put up there as far as being, recommendations. They're all things that we've discussed previously. obviously the hard ones that we were struggling with were the personnel, right? So,
Correct.
but now, I mean, the way you presented it to me, that's a no-brainer. The athletic director position should absolutely go to the PE teacher, and the assistant principal should be removed. To me, I mean, you found the resolution, or the solution actually. So therefore, we should. I just think that makes really good sense. Anybody else have an opinion?
I'm on the fence with the I mean, so for a couple of reasons, but with the athletic director, assistant principal position. So we have the position for a reason, right? And if we're saying that the assistant principal is superfluous, that kind of,
I wouldn't say it's superfluous, but in this situation of having to make cuts, we really want all of these positions. There's not one position
right.
on here that I would say we don't need and did not go to good use. But we're in this difficult decision, so something has to go. And if I was looking at everything in the district, I think this makes the least impact on our students. And yes, it would mean that more of us we'd have to pitch in. You know, Matt would have some more responsibilities. I would have some more responsibilities. This PE teacher would have some more responsibilities. But I do think we can manage this, and hopefully it's for a temporary time. You know, we'll have to see how it goes with the PE teacher. I can't guarantee it's going to be a success. But I do think with training and with working with the union and working with the person in that position, I think we could do it, but it's not going to be easy. None of these, you know, and also looking at that business position, that's a huge loss for our district. You know, I would love to be able to bring that back sooner than later. You know, none of these, especially any of the personnel ones on here, are very difficult to lose.
Yeah, I have to say I don't look at them as being gone forever. You know, it's just a matter of we're at a really bad crossroad and we have to make a decision. So.
No, agreed. It's tough playing. It's a balance between playing with people's livelihoods and what's good for our students. And
I know
we can't have it all. I will say, I'll put in my 2 cents about the school, the psychologist. I was on the fence at the last meeting, but you know, since we represent the community here, we're as elected officials. That one position, I received the more emails about that than anything else on this budget. So clearly, it is something the community believes in and the community wants. So I am all game for keeping that on the list of stuff to stay.
That being said, the National Association of School Psychologists recommend one person per 500 students. So I think we're pretty heavy on that with 3 psychologists governing over 450 students. I believe that's really high. That's a high number. I don't believe we have that high of a number of psychological problems in our school, honestly. I don't see it. I'm not in the school every day, but this is recommended by their association. So, I mean, I kind of got to look at that guideline and think that we're a little heavy on that.
I'm just going to stop sharing so I can see people. Give me 1 second.
We don't know what other staff those schools have, though. They may have, you know, social workers or other professionals help take some of that burden off what our psychologists do. From what I've learned, our psychologists have a pretty broad role in our district.
We have a very unique situation, which I think works fantastic. A psychologist receives a lot of training in many different areas. They can test students. They do CSE chairs. They also can work with students directly. Most psychologists in most districts, they do not see students. They're only providing the testing. When it comes to a student with special needs, they typically have to test regularly to make sure those kids will maintain with their services. In most districts, ones that you're looking at that information on, that's typically what the role is that testing piece and CSE meetings. That's very different at New Lebanon. They are also working with the kids directly. So all 3 of our psychologists work directly with our students. You would not see in most districts a psychologist working with student other than testing. Also, you'll find our psychologists are pushing into classrooms and they're providing mental health support. In most school districts, you would have, especially elementary schools, you would have a school counselor doing some of that push-in support at an elementary school. Also, you would see in most districts, you would see a social worker doing the IEP mandated needs. The unmandated needs would typically be met by a school counselor. So you're right. In most districts, they don't have as many psychologists, but we use our psychologists very, very differently. And that was established several years ago, I believe, with Karen. I believe at one point this district did have social workers, and they ended up no longer having those social workers, and they changed the services to psychologists. So in order to make that ratio like you're talking about, Mr. Lambert, we would have to hire social workers in the district to meet those needs of our students if we only had one psychologist. So that's the difference, but we're unique in that way. One thing I can tell you is that the whole discipline factor, just give me 1 second. My cat is at my cat door. Give me 1 second, and it's really bothering me.
COVID problems.
Francis, while we're waiting, none of that federal money you're using at all for this budget. Am I correct in that?
Correct. Yep. It would be too difficult to say, all right, we're going to get $200,000, by August so that we can, bring a couple of people back, or, there's just no way. I mean, like I said, it's been in the entire school year for CARES money that has been allocated out to the states. So New York State has the CARES money, and they still haven't released it to school districts.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't. The only other question I've got is, you've got the mechanic now at an $18,250 cut.
Yep.
Are you confident you're going to be able to fill that position for that much less? I know that the one that's leaving has been here forever, so he's on a higher step, but.
Yeah, looking at what I've been able to hire at Voorheesville for mechanics, I'm pretty confident that we'll get a mechanic and we'll be able to hit that benchmark of 18.25.
Okay.
So sorry about that. So with the psychologist, one thing that is also what we're seeing in schools is we're seeing a large increase in mental health needs by far. One thing that's also changing with this discipline, we're finding that the intervention with discipline and having that psychologist support, or having that mental health support, if it's a psychologist, counselor, we're not seeing as many discipline issues, because a lot of that is getting intervened on before it gets to the principal position. So that is a lot to do with our having a lot of mental health support in our district, which has come a long way.
I guess I see both sides of that coin, of that dilemma, but I know that while I was on the board at Berkshire, which was, basically a special needs school, they did a lot more with aides and first year students. I mean, a full-time psychologist is $66,000. You could get two other people for that position if they were lesser trained. And I'm not sure that, I don't know which is the better bang for the buck. Berkshire had, 100 and some students that were all in 811 classes or 812 classes, and they only had a couple psychologists on staff. And those kids needed help every single day, virtually every minute, and they were doing it with, grad students and social workers. So again, I understand we have it and it's valuable, and if it's valuable and it will help fill the hole, if we do away with the assistant principal, then I maybe can see it, but I can see both sides of that. Other than that, I agree. I think the way that you've got the setup is probably as good as we're gonna get. Unless we're make some major changes.
I'll put it back up. So just to remind everyone, we're not voting on this. I know the board asked to have a third budget workshop before tomorrow's meeting, which you would be approving a budget. So it's really up to you how you want to move forward with this, but we will have to have a budget ready to present to the board tomorrow.
And we're gonna have to get it done today then.
I know, we do. We're really running out of time. Does anyone want me to move anything just so you can see what the totals look like? I'm happy to do that. If you want me to switch anything out.
The field trip money, is that all field trips, or is it just the 6th grade and 5th grade trips?
Fran, do you want to talk about how you already reduced some of the field trips already? This would be a total reduction of field trips.
Yeah, we've already trimmed the field trips down by about 50%. So that'd be the last of it. That includes the transportation side of it as well.
So
what's
no matter
what's left is the 5th and 6th grade trips.
No, not necessarily.
No.
Well, we would divvy it out, and that would be really up to the principals. We would divvy it out and make sure every grade has an opportunity. We would not, right now with this budget, it would not cover all of Nature's Classroom. It could cover a portion of Nature's Classroom, or it could cover a portion of the 6th grade trip, but there would have to be fundraising involved to do all of it. So this would be an equal all the way through. If we kept this would be every grade level would have a field trip opportunity.
Okay.
But that's up to the principals and the teachers on how they want to do that.
Okay, back to the PE teacher position. Now you're talking about doing a 0.2 or 0.4 towards the AD position?
Correct. Yep.
And 0.2 towards the PE teacher or DTE.
Correct.
And you're talking about a stipend? For going
So-
to games?
So what it would be because this would be part of the teacher's contract still, this PE teacher athletic director position. So a 0.2 in order to continue to be a teaching position, there'd have to be some sort of teaching duty. So we would be one PE class, then the rest of their day would be working on scheduling, interviewing, coaching, those kind of duties. And then there would be an additional this would all be written out very specifically, how many games this person needs to be attending and what are the after school commitment. And then we would figure out some sort of stipend for some of those requirements after hours. Which would be, I'm talking, I don't have a number on me right now, but we're not talking more than, a couple $1,000s, no more than 5,000, I don't know the exact number, but the stipend will not be a large stipend. Can you see my screen?
No.
Heaven.
I guess I'm stuck on what Josh said last week when I asked him, how much your time did you spend as AD? He said 70%. That's a big chunk of time. And we're reducing that down to 40%.
So a big difference I want to share with the board is it's a complete merged team now. So all the duties with our athletic director are completely shared between both districts. So some of the duties that our athletic director would have done in the past, just as a New Lebanon team, it's not the same as what it used to be. Because now we have two athletic directors for all of our teams instead of one.
I think we need to keep our own athletic director. I don't think we can farm that out
Yeah.
to Berlin. I think that'd be a bad idea.
Absolutely. Yep.
But I don't think I don't know if the current PE teacher will be, up to staying, if you're working a half a day, you're going home at, whatever time. You work the first 3 hours of the day or the second 3 hours of the day. I don't know, how's that work? I mean, our sports are after school. So it'd be involve staying after or driving back to whatever. And I believe the current PE teacher does some coaching here and there as well. So I just don't know if that's going to work out with him in particular. And to get another 0.6 PE teacher is going to be probably somewhat difficult, I would believe.
We would certainly, the position would be posted for the PE department. So I don't know what PE teacher would actually do this piece of it. If it ended up being one of the PE teachers that isn't a part-time, it would still be, it would then turn into a 0.6 teacher and a 0.4 athletic director, say if a full-time person wanted to take it on. So that would have to be posted within the bargaining unit. So I don't have a specific person in mind. We haven't brought this to any of their attention because obviously it's your decision. And then if you decide to go this route, we will work out logistics and we'll certainly keep you informed. But the decision is completely yours. That was just an option, just a pure option. Can you see the screen now?
I don't see the numbers up there now.
No, it's not there.
Having some sharing difficulties on Google. Let me try again. I might have to have you share it, Fran. Let's see. Try again. How about now?
There it is.
All right. I'll probably lose it again. So just to play with some numbers. That would get us there. So that would get us there. There's a lot of variations within this.
Okay, well. All right, well, what's everybody usually think as board members?
I'm in support of the spreadsheet as it's recommended by the administration. The only thing that I was teetering on was maybe keeping the teaching assistant and moving out modified sports. But obviously the test up for JV was my deciding factor with leaving it as is.
So I've been running numbers over here, and I'm sort of on more along the lines of reducing the clubs, reducing field trips, and reducing the PE teacher, and retain athletic director, psychologist, and modified sports. I think we can rebuild my opinion is we can rebuild the field trip program and the clubs, as part of our plan to get whole again.
Okay.
I just want to add to what keeps me firm with my decision about the assistant principal position is the fact that when we're looking at the 6% increase that we're presenting to the vote, to the actual voters, they're going to want to see what have we done, and they look at the administrative salaries when it comes to making these decisions when they go out to vote.
If the budget, just so everyone knows, if the budget does not pass and we have to go to a contingency, automatically a portion of the budget must go to administrative costs. So I just want to put that out there. The state mandates that a piece of administration does have to be within this budget, has to be reduced. That is a prerequisite. Francis, do you want to talk any more about that?
No, I mean, that's basically, we come up with our contingency budget number, and then then there's a formula that figures in what the reduction in administration needs to be compared to what the contingency budget is. I haven't looked at that number yet, but you would be cutting some facet of the assistant principal athletic director, because what else are you going to reduce? I mean, you can't reduce a superintendent, you can't reduce building principals, and you can't reduce a business administrator. So if you go to a contingency, and getting down to the contingency number, that athletic director / assistant principal is probably the largest cut you're going to be making anyway. I mean, it's going to be much more draconian, but if you go to contingency, that position is as good as gone.
Okay, so if
Okay.
we eliminate it, then what's gonna go if we don't pass the budget? What's next in line?
So if we don't pass the budget, that would be our next, after we know what the board is reducing, we will be sharing with the board in May what this would look like. They would be astronomical. Our entire athletic budget would be completely decreased. We would have to be looking at cutting several other teaching positions that will certainly put a lot of hardship on the district. The other thing I just wanted to mention, as I thought about this process, the goal after we make these decisions about the budget, our goal is to get this budget passed, right? And we want people to come out and vote. And a lot of times when you get people to come out and vote, in what we're going to be putting in there, we're going to be putting very specifically, if we don't vote yes on this budget, this is what your students will not be getting any more New Lebanon. They won't be getting field trips. They won't be getting, the class sizes are going to go higher. They won't be getting sports. There won't be any sort of clubs. And those are the things that our kids love the most and that our parents love the most. And that's what gets the votes out. So if we take too much of the athletics and too much of it out now, I'm afraid it's going to be harder to motivate people to vote. Because that's what people come and vote for, good or bad. That's the truth of it. If you look at most districts and their budgets. The way we have it here, we're not increasing any class sizes. There's no increase of class sizes. We're still able to maintain the programs that our kids and our families love. It's certainly going to impact our district, but like I said, that's my opinion.
I really think, I agree with Sharon about the administrative cut. And it may not be the best, but I really think we have to do that. And I think that the way that Andrew's got this set up is probably our best choice. It's not a great choice, but it's probably our best choice.
So just help me because can you guys give me the history of the vice principal position? Because I know and being a newer board member, I don't know the history here. This was a position at one point we did not have. Is that correct?
Yeah, we did not have it. We had for a while, we had, I forget exactly what the title was, but it was basically just a discipline, somebody for discipline and stuff, if as I recall.
It's like a dean of students.
Dean of students, there you go. And we went through, I don't know how many deans of students, but it was a good number of them. And it's then when we needed an athletic director, that's when we came up with this position, and it's worked much better.
And I think, as Andrew pointed out, the role of the psychologists in our school may be overlapping a bit with what the dean of students might have done.
As you can see, it sounds like we're more in the mode of, and I think the term you guys use is restorative discipline, where we're not
Exactly.
We're intervening and working with kids in real time instead of just punishing them for wrongdoing.
And just looking at the numbers right now, we have 175 kids in the junior, senior high school. And we have about 225, 230 at the elementary school. And the elementary school does not have an assistant principal. And being a principal there, when we only had one mental health provider, it was a huge challenge. The nice thing with this school psychologist position, it's between both buildings. And the high school also has a school counselor as well to support students. So, looking at the numbers back when this position was, the numbers at the high school were much higher. I don't want to say much higher, but they were higher than they're at now.
Well,
So
that's
that
the
is
other reason why I was standing so strongly behind it. I mean, I don't want to see anybody lose their job. I mean, that's devastating to anybody. But then to also know that the class sizes have reduced so much and the enrollment numbers, they've ticked up a little bit, but for the most part, they've dropped over these years. And there's no reason for, even in times such as this, that we can't just put that on hold for a year or two and see if we can recover and then look back at that position again.
That makes sense. I have to say, just the feedback I've gotten from my own children with having psychologists in the school, it's someone to talk to. It's especially when kids have conflict, they know there's somebody they can talk to and trust, and help them resolve whatever greasy kid stuff they've gotten themselves into.
We have a question from somebody.
Yeah, looks like Mr. Christensen has got a question.
I don't know if you guys were taking questions or not.
Tim, why don't you type it in the chat and then Kelly will read it.
Unfortunately, I'm driving.
No, okay. Go ahead. You could ask.
I just had one quick question. Just something I was listening to is if that point, the 0.6 position of the PE level is let go. This is what the problem was to begin with. It was the next person that's going to do it is usually someone that's going to be right out of college, so they're teaching PE and they're learning to be an AD at the same time, and that's one of the biggest reasons why we created this position, was because that did not work out very well. So I just wanted to put that out there for you guys just to kind of mull about, think about that. Is because that was one of the major reasons why we switched to the athletic director / principals, because we kept getting new people into that position as well, and that wasn't working out very well either. So I just want to let you guys know that.
you.
I mean, my own, that's what I've been on the fence about this whole thing is with the AD assistant principal is my own experience watching my kids and talking to Josh on the phone. It's an organizational nightmare. So whoever we put in that role really has to be able to handle a lot of moving parts. That's my biggest concern about that.
Yeah, and just to follow up, I mean, I don't know, that I don't want to use the names. I don't know if I don't know if I'm allowed to or not, but that's the person that has a position now. I don't know if he's obviously going to be looking for a job just because we don't know what the situation is right now, So if he finds a new position, who are we going to be able to, again, it's going to be, I don't know what kind of candidates we're going to be able to get for that position,
Yeah, that's a concern of mine as well.
Yeah.
I know that the scheduling should be a little bit easier with the shared services with Berlin. Obviously, you have a couple coaches working on the scheduling, so it should be somewhat easier and less time consuming.
The game schedule does come from the Wasserman League. So the actual athletic directors aren't making necessarily the game. Now they're tweaking them and they're rescheduling things if they're canceled, but there's actually a scheduler for the Wasserman League. And then they review it.
Okay, now what do we do in the event of we have principal out? Say principal goes out for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. Right now we have the assistant principal takes over that position. I'm assuming.
In years past, doesn't the superintendent step in?
I was just going to say, you're looking at them. If it was a long-term leave, we would look for an interim. But if it was a day-to-day leave, if someone's taking time between Francis and I, we would cover buildings. Mostly me, though, Francis. But, we all would have to work together. This is not going to be easy for any of us administrators. To lose an administrator is certainly going to put a hardship on all of us. But, as a superintendent, I'm looking what's going to make I know it's not going to be easy. There's going to be challenges. It's not going to be an easy position. But what I look for as the leader of this district, what's best for kids. And that's, and I feel as if we could, with all of us administrators working together, we could make this work. Won't be easy, but we could make it work.
Do we have a lot of modified sport participation?
Yes.
Is there any consideration for maybe like a 0.8 psychologist or a 0.75? Does that exist?
You could always reduce positions, but it would be hard for somebody. It's very hard to get any part-time position. Very hard to get any part-time because people are looking for full-time work.
Sure.
So it would be hard to fill.
Which is why
it's very difficult to fill the psychologist position.
Okay.
In general.
And that 0.6 PE teacher is something you think will happen?
There are less PE positions out there, so they're a little bit more difficult to get a job in.
Okay, understand. Yep. You mentioned before that if something did happen to that 0.6 position, that we would have to have an AD on top of. You had said a 0.6 and a 0.4, but then that's adding to the budget.
Correct. Say that.
Is that doable? I mean, I don't understand. I was kind of got lost there for a sec.
Are you, ask your question again, Bill? I'm sorry.
I should have brought this up, 25 minutes ago when you mentioned it, but you said something about if that PE teacher 0.6 position doesn't happen or work out, or we have any issues there with merging with a AD, that the AD position would have to be a separate gig at a 0.4, I think you mentioned, and then we'd be looking to fill the PE teacher separately, and that added up to a 1.0 in my head. Is that what you meant to say?
So no, so the
Okay.
current position that we would look at reducing, and the reason we're looking at reducing this is because right now our PE teachers are doing supervision at recess and they're doing supervision at lunch. So we could keep our PE program going if we reduced it by a 0.6. The recommendation to fill the need of an athletic director is to keep that 0.6 position as a 0.6, but recalibrate it to a 0.2 PE teacher. So that means they would teach about one class, and then a 0.4 athletic director with a stipend to do after school activities.
Gotcha.
That's the only way we could continue that PE teacher position based on need, is if we moved some of those responsibilities to an athletic director. And there are many school districts out there that have PE teachers doing athletic duties. That is not an uncommon thing in small districts.
Yeah. All right. Then I guess I'd have to, at this point, then moving forward, I'd be, okay taking your recommendation of lines 5 through 13 here and moving forward with that, as unfortunate as it is.
Now we could be going throughout the year. We could be thinking, oh my goodness, there's not enough time. This position's not enough as a 0.4. We might have to increase it. That could be a possibility. We're not sure exactly how it's going to work. And you're right, it's going to depend upon having the right person in that position. But, we have found a lot of great people that have done amazing things with our district. So one thing that I've learned through my years is that there's good people out there and we can make it work as a team. That's always my motto. What person wouldn't be alone for sure. We're all going to be there to support whoever it is.
So. Decisions. Yeah, the whole thing that's got me hung up is the athletic director thing. Just sounds kind of messy right now. As Tim said, that other PE teachers probably looking for another job. Wouldn't blame him. Hopefully he's not, but I don't know if he's even willing to do the AD work himself. Do you speak to him about that at all, or it hasn't even come up yet?
No, it's, no, the decision, it was not brought up to anybody.
Okay. I always say that, so we eliminate eliminate the vice principal position, and the budget doesn't pass, and we have to make cuts in administration. What cuts will we have to make in administration? What would be the next cut in line? Was a question I presented before. That's I think we need to know what's going to get cut out of there. If we have to go and make cuts in administration and we remove the assistant principal, which would be the first target for a cut, if we had to make the cut, what would the second target be?
Francis, do you want to speak to that? Because since we already cut an administrator.
There would be no more cuts in administration. You already would have been above their threshold for what they would want for a cut as far as a reduction in money.
Okay.
So we'd be preemptively making the cut and then that would be protected.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So then, if we don't pass the budget, we'll be revisiting this list again, I take it.
So if we don't pass the budget, at our May meeting, Francis and I and the administrative team will be showing you what it would look like if we didn't pass the budget. What would contingency look like? What else would have to go? And it would be very difficult. Not that this isn't difficult, but it would be much more difficult, and it would certainly impact kids, impact class sizes, impact a lot of opportunities for our students if the budget doesn't pass. So after tomorrow, the focus of the district will be getting people out to vote.
Okay, well, then I guess we got to do a count of hands right now then. Final opinions. Anybody want to start? On the board members?
I'm sticking with my same feeling, and I'm going to go with what Andrew has for recommendations as they are.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I feel that try it. Worst that's going to happen is the budget will be defeated. And then know what you have to do.
Okay, but we do need to make some cuts now, so we have to decide if we're going to make the recommended cuts, or did you want to go in another direction?
I don't know, because you don't know what the people are going to vote.
Yeah,
You
I
might-
know.
Yeah,
That's tough. I know, but it's where we are now. We're in a corner and don't have a lot of options. We still may have to make cuts. If the budget gets voted down, then we're going to have to make more cuts. That very well may be the case, but we definitely have to make some sort of cuts today, or to put on the agenda for tomorrow, to vote on, to have a budget to vote on for tomorrow. So we have to do these today. We just absolutely have to. And I just want to know where everybody stands, and we'll take a vote.
So
What we got?
I am comfortable with the original proposal going in, after listening to everything. As painful as it is, it makes the most sense.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, I really think it makes the most sense, because I like the athletic, assistant principal and athletic director, but I really think to get the budget to pass, we're going to need to do it. So I think this is what we have to stick with.
I agree, and I think that if we get to a point where we do need to get a full-time PE teacher, then we need to revisit the whole vice principal, assistant principal thing, and AD director. Possibly, because right now there's a $40,000 difference between the two positions. And if we go to a full-time teacher, then we're going to be right up to about there. I don't know. I guess they could do the AD job as well. I mean, I think the part-time teacher could very well handle the position of the AD. I don't see a problem with that at all. I mean, my quick computation is probably over 400 hours they'll have to do scheduling for sports. I think somebody should be able to handle that amount of time, dedicated to that. So I don't think it's a problem. My biggest fear is just to not have somebody there to do it. That's all. And other than that, I'm a little stuck on the psychologist thing, but I'll get over that, and I'm going to go with the recommended cuts. So we have a, basically unanimous for the cuts as written.
Tim Christian also wanted to share that he has seen an increase in discipline with the PE classes being larger.
Yes, now, I mean, would the, if the gym teacher actually didn't take 0.4 of the time to do what he needs to do, would he be able to teach PE or help out in PE?
Ask that question again, Mr. Lambert.
So we're appointing a 0.4 position and a 0.2 position. So if the 0.4 position only ends up taking a 0.2 or 0.3, would he be able to allocate his time to teaching PE?
No, that position would be very clearly hired as a, the duties are 0.4 athletic, 0.2 class. So he would be scheduled for one class, he or she would be scheduled for one class, and then they would do administrative duties specifically for the athletic director. And when I say by administrative duties, that's scheduling, coaching, organizing coaches. We would have a whole very specific list of responsibilities in that 0.4 position. And then the after school activities would be a stipend that person would have to agree to. And if the person doesn't, agree to that, then we look for a person that will agree to that.
Okay. Now scheduling, I know we have a summer break. When do the fall sports get scheduled?
So typically over the summer, in August, usually there would be, again, like I said, the Washington League puts up that schedule. So there would certainly be some stipend time over the summer that would be included as well in that position.
Okay, so then the 51,000 or whatever it is here. The 51,000 isn't actually 51,000. It's more like, I don't know, 57,000, 60,000. I don't know. It's kind of climbing up there. We're not including all the ifs, ands, or buts in there.
So we haven't, this would have to be a negotiated position with the bargaining unit. So we obviously, until we get to that, once you give me the approval to do this, we'll figure out all the specific logistics. I can't do that until we
Right.
have.
Now, what duties does the assistant principal do over the summer?
Mostly athletic duties.
Okay.
Because Matt takes care of everything else over the summer.
Okay. All right, we ready to put this to a vote? We got to vote on it, yes?
You don't have to technically vote on it because it's not, it's a budget workshop. So no, you don't have to do a vote. It's more of just a recommendation and you'll vote tomorrow on it.
Okay, so we're all in agreement on the recommendation to go with the cuts as written here? I take it. Was my consensus. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go with that. The original list. Yes. Hey, anybody else have anything to say?
The only other question that I had is currently the assistant principal is a 10-month position, correct?
Correct.
So typically over the summer, whatever work they are doing, because they do come back a little bit early, right? They come back usually like mid-August.
5 days.
Whatever.
5 days.
Okay.
Yep.
And
those are added on to the person that is not included in their salary. So that's
Okay.
So the athletic or the assistant principal is salaried, but they also get additional pay.
Okay. I just wanted clarity on that. I couldn't remember. And
yeah.
Okay.
if it goes over whatever's in their contract.
Okay, I guess we're in agreement, and I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I do have one question. Are we remote tomorrow, or we were going to do it in person?
Yeah, the board will be in person tomorrow. We decided not to do 2 in-person meetings in 1 week on a row. So the board will be in person tomorrow, but anyone that wants to join in on the meeting will be virtual like we have been doing.
And we're at Walter B.
Walter B. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, that's it. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and
See you tomorrow.
see you
Thank you,
tomorrow.
thank you to all the people who provided us feedback over the course of the last week too.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We always appreciate it.
All right. See
Thanks,
y'all
Ken.
tomorrow.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Miss Maskin. Bye, Miss.
Bye, I miss you.
Bye.
Girls, you gotta stop.
Bye.
Girls.